backstage. Okay. You guys actually asked for this interview. You know me, the platform is always open to any and everybody that has a voice and a story that's credible, that wants to get access to you guys. And so we like our interviews to be genuine. We like people to want to do the interviews, to want to tell their story. This particular story happens to be very high profile. It is involving Roc Nation. Okay. It is involving the CEO of Roc Nation. Okay. Who is Jay-Z's business partner, which is Desiree Perez. Okay. Very controversial figure. A lot of people don't like her out here. I believe right now Nicki Minaj is currently dragging Desiree for some of the things that her daughter Demoree is alleging as well in the lawsuit, explosive lawsuit that she filed against her mother a couple weeks ago. Okay. And so since this story has broke, you know, some people are like, I understand Demoree, do what you got to do. Demoree Perez, who is the daughter, the only child of Desiree Perez. And then there are some people that are like, that's your mom. What are you doing? Okay. And so very mixed reviews because a lot of people, it's triggering. It hits home. Why would you sue your mother? Okay. We have went over the lawsuit in detail over here. And she has alleged some things that I feel that need to be looked into if these things are true. Right now she is fighting her case that she did file against her mother as well as Roc Nation and I believe a few others as well too. And so listen, without further ado, guys, we're going to open the chat to later for you guys to ask questions to Demoree as well. You guys will actually put out a link as well too if she wants to take some calls. And so without further ado, I give you Demoree Perez. How you doing?
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for having me here today.
Anytime. Thank you so much for doing this on such short notice. I know we were trying to arrange an in-person meeting, but given the urgency of your mother and of course her businesses are, according to, court motions and things, they're trying to put a gag order on you. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Right now, legally, I'm allowed to speak. That's why I'm doing this here today. And because I'm a law-abiding citizen, I wanted to avoid, anything that might happen in the future or whatnot, because that's just standard court procedure, not because I'm plotting or anything. I'm just following the law.
Yeah, it happens typically in cases that, involve public figures that are high profile, like your mother, that kind of want to protect, I guess, their brand until the outcome of the case. And leave that picture up. You guys have a striking resemblance.
I know. I get it all the time. I know.
Wow. Like when you popped up on the screen, I thought it was her.
Yeah, I know. We're identical. I know.
Wow. Yeah. And so she has been Jay-Z's business partner for many years. She was at one time incarcerated for trafficking drugs, I believe, and she did serve her time. Didn't she end up getting pardoned by Trump here recently? I guess later, even after she served time. So it's pretty much erased off of her, I guess, her criminal history. Like it's not a part of, I guess, her resume anymore.
Correct. Yes. Some documents are sealed. Some documents are not sealed. That's why you see those in the amended complaint. Those are public records.
Okay. Can we go back a little bit before so we can have people understand the severity of this? Obviously, this is emotional for you. You can put the mom down for a second because she looked. It was the black hair on the black. I don't know, man. I don't know. So obviously, so people can kind of get a full spectrum, I don't just like to stick to the lawsuit because obviously there were things that definitely led up to this lawsuit. But your mother, Desiree, okay, very high profile figure. She's extremely wealthy. Okay. I just want to ask, like, you're her only child.
No, so we're actually 5 from her. We're 6 total because my stepdad has another child before they were married. So we're actually 5 children from her.
5?
Yes.
No, I don't think anybody knew that.
Yeah, no, we've been, so we're very private, all of us, and purposely have lived an intentional life outside of the media and the industry. That is
Okay.
one thing that I am grateful that our parents did when we were younger, because I'm sure you're aware, Hollywood in the industry is very, a lot. And so we've intentionally lived a low key life out of the spotlight. And so for me to come out and do this, anybody who knows me personally or anybody who knows about her and is just finding out about her like history and her family, like you just said, are probably shocked, because for me to do this, it's a huge deal. It's not for media attention or anything like that. It's just really to stop the harassment.
Okay. All right. And that's what you are alleging, harassment against you and your husband. And this has been going on for quite some time. You were very detailed in your lawsuit. I did read that. And so I'm going to be honest with you. I was a little surprised that a lawyer took you on because Roc Nation is a very powerful entity.
Yeah, and I want to also make it clear it's not only Roc Nation. So I'm suing about 17 entities that are also very powerful. We have Iconic Creative Agency. We have Memorial Hospital in Hollywood, Florida. We have Sig9, private investigation firm. We have CTS Research Inc., another private investigation firm. We have Dr. Daniel Bobar. We have James Fondo, former BSO, private investigator. We have Stephen Caddy, Jessica Caddy. We have two Broward Sheriff Office police officers. We have Broward Sheriff's Office police officer. We have Life Skills in Deerfield Beach, Florida. We have Odyssey Behavioral, which owns Life Skills and the hospital. And then we have Natalie Anderson, Roc Nation assistant. We also, I think I named, Dr. Rachel Bernstein, therapist in California. And if I missed anybody, I can send you the amended complaint with everybody's name. But it's multiple individuals that I'm fighting back against who are powerful. I know people think Roc Nation, super powerful, but I'm going against a lot of people who are big as well.
Now, let me ask you something. Are you nervous about this? Because these are a lot of people that got a lot to protect that they don't want exposed. And so are you not afraid for, and knock on wood, I don't wish anything on you, but like I said, you're dealing with the type of people that if they didn't mind, if they did this, and I have to say allegedly because I'm not there, but I wasn't there, but wouldn't they go to the extreme to cover it up if they went to the extreme, as you allege, to try to, put you in a mental health facility, lock you up, lock your husband up, things of that such?
Yeah. So to answer your question, if I'm afraid, I fear, again, I really am a spiritual person. I believe in God. And I really believe that I'm highly protected and covered by God. And that's why I've been able to get through all of these things. And my husband has been able to get through these things. Of course, there is fear that comes with this, right? We have suffered a lot of PTSD symptoms through having men living across the street, both licensed and unlicensed investigators watching us 24 hours a day, following me to and from grocery stores, work, following my husband's nephews to school with guns, not supposed to be having guns, saying things, taking pictures, videos. So of course I'm scared. It's in my nature to be scared as a young lady. It's in our family's nature to be scared, right? And our friends and all of that. But like I mentioned earlier, I have no choice, because the option was, okay, stay behind closed doors, continue allowing the bully to punch. And then you're falsely imprisoned, falsely arrested, you're getting lawsuit after lawsuit, or fight back, fight the bully back, speak up, get a platform. Maybe there's other people out there going through the same thing as you. Maybe other people are depending on you to be the voice. Fight back, because when you're dealing with narcissist people and powerful people, what's the one thing that they care about? Their image, right? And so when analyzing what can I do to fight back, I'm working behind the scenes for over a year, trying to have adult conversations, trying to say, hey, this was wrong. Let's try to, work this out so that we can have a sense of peace and that this can stop. That didn't work. And so when you're dealing with narcissistic people who tend to care about their image, well, what better way than to strike a nerve and tell them, listen, you need to stop, than going out, speaking out, going to the media and letting them know, hey, I'm tired. It's been over 2 years of you punching me, harassing me, scaring me. I'm pretty sure the public will support us and they'll understand, despite you trying to blackmail, use any little thing you can against us to not come forward. And so that's what I had to do. And it was a risk. It was a risk. And sometimes I am afraid. Sometimes, we do get indirect threats, right? We did get direct threats. So my husband's life was threatened directly. I was threatened directly, but obviously when you have the legal stuff involved, now they have to watch what they say or what they do. And so you get things like 2 to 3 motions, expedited motions requesting the judge to gag me every day for the last 3 weeks. So that's a lot, right? And so that can be intimidating. But I think what has gotten me and my husband through this ordeal after we went out, and well, not him, but I went out and we had to, I had to speak out, is the community. I'm very thankful and surprised at the amount of people coming forward and thanking me and supporting me and wishing prayers. And so that's been comforting. So now with the public support, with me trusting my intuition and having to fight the bully, and now people like you who are wonderful giving me platforms to speak up, it reassures me that, okay, Demoree, you did the right thing and everything is going to be okay. God got you through all of this.
Okay. That was very well explained. I do want to start from the beginning, because I don't take it that you and your mother have always had a bad relationship. I mean, she's your mom. She named you similar to her. Like, you guys have similar names. She's Desiree, you're Demoree. You look exactly like her. Are all the other kids named after your mom?
So my name is actually Demoree.
Demoree, my bad.
It's okay. It's okay. I didn't want to say anything, but I was like,
okay, gotcha.
None of my siblings. So I was named after her, and a lot of people don't know that, my biological dad. And so that's how my name came about. To answer your question about my relationship with my mother. So again, a lot of people don't know this, only people closest to me. I've had issues with my mother for a long time, way before I even started dating my now husband. I was raised by my grandfather. So at 9 months, my mother was incarcerated, became what's the confidential informant, a CI, had to go through a justice problem. Unfortunately, my biological dad was in the cartel, very involved in drug trafficking, not involved in my life, in and out of prison since the age of 12. And so as you can imagine, at 9 months, my mom was incarcerated. My grandfather took over raising me. And so until she got her life together. So I lived with my grandfather from 9 months to the age of 13. And then at 14, when she kind of got her stuff together and was able to purchase a home and all of that, she would fly back and forth during my high school years, but not live with me 360 days out of the year, 24/7. No. And so I don't think a lot of people know that. Obviously, that's the backstory. So as you can imagine, living with my grandfather from 9 months to 13, her coming back and kind of basically forcing me to leave my grandfather's house now that she has their life together, was traumatizing for me, because my home and all I ever knew as home was my abuelo, was my grandfather. And so for her to do that when I'm 13 years old, I had a little resentment as a child. So as a teenager, I'm going through hormones, going through everything in high school and all of that. And I miss my grandfather, even though he was coming and seeing me and I was with him every day, I wanted to live with him. And so that's what I don't think people get. So that's where the clashing was back and forth. So since very younger, and I've tried and I've done my best to give her the respect as my mother, right? And as that title. And I've tried to work things out. A lot of people don't know that this, for me to do this, was a lot, because it meant my siblings, losing now my grandfather, losing everything that I ever knew, not being able to be at my grandmother's funeral. She just died 3 months ago. And so this was a lot of, thank you, this was a lot of loss for me than wins. And that's why I want the people to understand this is a huge deal for me to be coming out, because I could have simply just taken the punches, given up my freedom, my husband been falsely arrested, and then I would still have my safety net, right? but that wasn't the right thing to do. I'm the type of person that I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if somebody is falsely incarcerated. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I give up all my freedoms just to let somebody control me. And so there's been tension since very young.
And I guess, did you ever resent your mother for not being there for you? I mean, not being able to see her for 13 years off of, choices that she made. I guess they were survival choices. A lot of people were in, the drug game back in those times. And it was a very lucrative, but risky lifestyle. And I don't know if you benefited from that lifestyle financially or your family, but, did you ever resent your mother for the choices that she made?
So I do want to clear that up too, because I'm a truth speaker and I always tell people I'm going to always speak the truth. So although she was incarcerated, she did get out. And so she was still coming to visit me. She was still coming, like she was involved to the capacity that she could be involved. Right. So I want to clear that out too. And then my grandfather, although he immigrated from Cuba, didn't know English, and didn't know how to read or write, he was able to open a successful moving company, be an entrepreneur, as well as my grandmother, who he married, became a psychologist, owned her own business. They own their own moving company, and then he owns his own buildings in New York. So he's a very successful entrepreneur. So even though, she wasn't there all the time, she was there when she could be. So it's not that I resented her. I just think I grew abandonment issues, right? Insecurity issues, self-love issues as a young child, young girl, right? And then but my grandfather was pretty well off, not like well off in her standards, but pretty well off, that I had everything that I need. So I want to make that very clear. I'm grateful. He provided very well. She provided right when she could. She came, all of that. And it wasn't resentment. It was more like abandonment issues. And I had to really like fight through that growing up. And I did my best to understand, right? My best to understand that situation. Like you said, people were involved in that lifestyle and all of that. But I do hold people accountable for their choices, because every choice has a consequence. But yeah, I would say not resentment, more like dealing with abandonment issues and all of that stuff. And kind of being in denial and all that. But yeah, that's my answer.
Did you consider your mother a good mother back then, or a bad mother?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not a mother, so I know people wrestle as moms. They always say, what's a good mother? I don't know what the definition of a good mother is, but I will say this in all honesty. She provided financially 1000%, probably more than most people would. So I will give her credit where credit is due. I learned a lot from my mother. Even though people might think she's not smart, she is pretty smart. I learned a lot. My education, I thank her for my education. I thank her for the clothes, the things that I had, the necessities. I never lacked a necessity. I think what I lacked was the presence, right? The constant presence that a child expects from her mother. But I had my grandfather. So again, I obviously did miss her and needed her. But to say if she's a good mother, I don't know that I can answer that. I can say she provided, but emotionally there was things that I was lacking, and that I think she failed, right, in her part as a mother.
Did you ever express that to her, that you missed her and needed her?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of people don't know this. When the stuff before my husband's first arrest, he was my boyfriend at the time. I did the family therapy thing with her. I tried to work it out because we had communication issues. We just did not see eye to eye. And so I really tried to salvage my relationship with her and really give her the benefit of the doubt of having the title as a mother. It just didn't work, because when you're dealing with somebody who's a narcissist, who's very controlling and all about power and money, and this is somebody who, with the snap of her fingers, everybody is responding to her. This is somebody who has 8 assistants. This is somebody who's running the biggest company in the world, right? One of the biggest companies. And so she's she gets like a high off of that power because she went so long being inferior, right? She went so long, she was incarcerated. She was a young mom at 16. She didn't have a lot of money. She needed her father to help with her kids because she couldn't take care of them. And so this is somebody who went from very inferior and small and kind of voiceless at sometimes to one of the biggest CEOs in the world. And so I feel like once you get to that status, you get addicted to the work, you get addicted to the lifestyle, right? And so that's what I think happened to her. She became addicted to it. And so when you're dealing with a narcissistic person who's addicted to power and control, and you don't respond like all her other puppets or everybody else she can control, it doesn't sit well with her. And so I tried, but I'm not a person who succumbs to people's expectations or power control over me. I'm just not that person. I'm a free thinker and free speaker.
Okay. It is, like I said, this is a triggering subject, and I want to make sure that I'm, answering a lot of unanswered questions, because like I said, this is when you take away everything, you take away just the money, the power, your marriage, the family members. You're talking about, you came from this woman, right? And obviously there was some type of connection with you for her to name herself like after you. Like I said, you have a striking resemblance to her. And I know as a mom, because I'm a mom to 2 kids and I do have a daughter, and this is my personal opinion. I'm not, she'll probably sit up and, well, I don't use my power, I guess, to manipulate her, but I do use my anger sometimes because I feel that I see so much more in her, and I've worked so hard to get from where I came from to where I am, to be able to give her a lifestyle that people would dream of, and they don't get access to that. And when kids don't know what it's like to be poor because you've covered them your whole life, it kind of stings a little bit when they take it for granted. Like, I'll be fine without this, or I don't need this. And it's like, do you know, like, I literally damn near put my whole life on the line to provide. And it gets dismissed like I didn't have to do that. But yet our driving force was the children. And so, as just to be a little empathetic towards your mom, I'm not talking about the shit that she's done to you personally, right? That, will be determined in a court of law if it was illegal or not. And from what I read, if she did that, that's some pretty fucked up shit, right? But when I look at it at the core, it's like, well, why is she doing it? Like, there has to be a method to the madness, as to, it's more than just control. Is this an obsession with you to step into everything that she's built for you to take over?
Yeah, that's a great question. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I think you were done.
No,
Sorry, I thought you were.
And just to kind of, so you can, because I love your detailed explanations. Is she like this with your other siblings?
Okay, good question.
Okay.
Well, to answer part one of your question, and I appreciate you sharing that as a mother in your intake, and I know that a lot of stuff is circulating with that. So you're thinking like a healthy, non-toxic parent, right? To address my mother, it's not the same thing. What do I mean by that? When you're dealing with a mother who is a narcissist, who has very toxic traits when dealing with everybody in her life, not just me,
Okay.
it's very difficult for her to accept or kind of step back and allow another individual to go against her train of thought or her opinion or what she thinks someone's life should be or what they should be doing, etc. For her, it's not really just about power and control, because that's the main thing, that's the core, whatever. But it's also about, and I'm gonna say it, and people will say, "Oh no, because Jay-Z is black and so is black." There is racism rooted in some of these things. There's classism rooted in these things, and there's narcissistic control. To touch on racism, you more than me know there's racism between Black and brown people. There's Hispanics who are darker than me, darker than you, who think that Javon or you are Black, but they're not Black. Or they think you're inferior because they're from the Dominican Republic, but you're from America. And so they see that there's some type of difference or superiority over the other. So there is racism between Black and brown people. I know people don't probably speak about it, but it exists. I'm sure you're aware of it. I'm sure you come across a Dominican that doesn't identify as Black, but might be darker than you and I, right? And so another thing, just because somebody works with Black artists and Black entertainment does not mean that they are not racist. You have to understand these people are making them millions of dollars a year. So it is in their best interest not to be publicly and directly racist or say comments that are offensive or think a certain way about the artists that they're dealing with, because these artists are making them $1 million a year. But I can tell you that I have witnessed comments. I have a sister who looks very different than I do. We come from the same mother, and there has been issues with that growing up and inappropriate comments. So there is a little bit of racism in it. There's classism in the sense that the judgment and the hypocrisy that my boyfriend at the time came from a bad neighborhood in Liberty City, Florida. I don't know if people know it, but Liberty City, Florida was considered, right, a bad neighborhood back in the day. There's classism in the sense that when I started dating him, that became a problem just because he was born there. But why? He's not a drug dealer. He's not in a gang. He's not doing anything bad. You know, his mother uprooted him to a nice neighborhood here in Florida as a single mom losing her husband to gun violence. And so it's very hypocritical when you're coming as a drug trafficker, dating a cartel leader, leaving me at 9 months, to then, you know, having a problem with my boyfriend because he's Black and from Liberty City. And so that was the initial start of it. And then it became the power and the control. So it wasn't just with Javon. That's what people don't understand. It was with everybody, like even my friends. Like I had a friend in high school that she became pregnant at 16. She was my best friend. I like a sister to me. We used to, you know, she used to sleep over my house, everything. Soon as my mother thought she saw that she became pregnant, the middling of ruining that friendship and that relationship, because she just thought, no, you're better than that. You shouldn't be friends with somebody like that. But it's the hypocrisy, right? Because you were pregnant at 16. I'm not going to do that just because I'm friends with somebody. Like I love this person. I want to be there for her and support her. That doesn't mean because she's pregnant at 16 that I'm going to get pregnant at 16. And so that relationship was burnt. And then there's so many friends that I have lost because of her judgment and her control and her narcissism and her racism and her classism. And so it just doesn't start with Javon. And I really think that if it was anybody else, it would have been an issue, because to answer your question, she wanted me to go to Roc Nation. She wanted me to move to New York. She wanted me to run the company. She even wanted Javon to work there just because she didn't like the business that we were in and what we were doing. When we said no, that was like, because what people don't know is all my siblings are affiliated to Roc Nation. So I have a sister that works for Live Nation, a sister that works at Roc Nation, a brother that works for Roc Nation, a little brother that works for a team that I'm not going to see here to protect his integrity. That was through Roc Nation Sports. I am the only one that has not worked in a job affiliated with Roc Nation. Iconic, I did Iconic during a pandemic because I lost my job as a social worker, like most people. And I was aware that one of the owners knew my mother, but I didn't know how deep rooted and tricked I was going to get. And I wanted to just work a job. All my other jobs before that, she has never helped me get. So I am the only one out of her children that is not affiliated with her company in any way. And so that's why it's like, I'm like the black wolf, right? Because everybody else, she's able to control, get them to do what she wants, live the life that she wants. And I'm the one who was like, well, I want to do my own thing, because I was raised by my grandfather, and he's very much a free thinker. When she wanted to purchase a home for him, like a better home, he was like, no, I'm okay. I don't need you to control me and say it's your house. I live in my little old house here in Miami that I bought with my own money because I worked hard for it because I'm a small business owner. And so that's the thinking that I grew up with, because that's the man that raised me. And so she doesn't like that, because everybody else, whether it's a house, a car, a job, she has something to do with it. She has her name on it somehow.
Okay. So are any of your siblings married to Black people?
Yes. I have a sister that's married to a Black man. Yes.
Okay. And that sister is employed under some type of affiliation of Roc Nation.
Yes. And her husband also is employed with a company that does things with her company. So,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. It seems like you described more of a prejudice.
Yeah, maybe.
Not
You'll be better at defining it than me, but yeah.
A prejudice, whereas you guys have your mom or your family, or your mom is trying to, I guess she came from the cartel, and now everything she's doing is on books legal, right? And to have it family owned because it's by her husband is why she has that affiliation with Jay-Z, correct?
No.
So
they both have the same affiliation. So they were all friends, like childhood friends, when they decided to open up the 40/40 Club together.
Okay.
So all three of them were friends. He used to perform. So she started off, one of her earlier jobs was as a club promoter in New York. And so Sean Carter used to perform in her clubs. And so that's how all three of them met. And they have been friends since very young.
Okay. Did your grandfather like your mother?
Absolutely. My grandfather loves my mother.
Okay. And because I guess what I'm trying to understand is if your sister has she's Latina, I'm sure you guys look just alike. And then she has a Black husband. You don't?
My sister's light skin with curly hair.
Okay. All right. Well, same bloodline. But has she tried putting your sister's husband in jail? As you're alleging with your husband?
No, never. My sister's husband, I'll put it like this, because I want to tread lightly, because my sister is expecting a baby and I care about her mental health.
Congratulations to your sister, and you're gonna be.
I don't want to involve her in this mess.
You're right.
But my sister's husband, I can tell you this much. When he met my sister and was working at a job, the first thing my sister wanted was for him to before my sister introduced him to my mother, she wanted to make sure he had a promotion in his job before she introduced him. So that should tell you enough. And then when he got the promotion and got the job, then, my mother started connecting him to people, connecting him to other brands. And, this is what I'll say about that. He's easily more influenced and manageable, in the sense that he goes along with whatever is said and asked of him. That my husband is a very independent free thinker and doesn't like handouts, and rather work hard and work for what he earns, and never have to deal with somebody saying, I gave you this, I helped you with this, or I connected you with this. He doesn't like that. So we're dealing with two different type of men here.
So your husband, obviously, you're very submissive to your husband. And so what he says for the family, I'm sure you guys talk about it, but he's pretty much, they're going to drag me if I say you're a leader. I'm very submissive to my husband. So we'll have conversations, right? But he ultimately makes the final decision as to whether or not it could go forward, because he's protecting our family for the long run. Whereas I may be emotional about something and want to handle something because I'm like, yeah, I want it right now. Like I asked him the other day for a motorcycle. He was like, we're not getting a motorcycle right now. And I was like, why? He was like, because we have to do this and we have to do that. And I'm like, fuck. You know what I'm saying? He's right. But it's like, that's the type of person that I'm married to. And it sounds like that's the type of person that you're married to. And, like I said, I don't feel like what you described with your mother is more of a prejudice. Like, yes, she was pregnant at 16, but she don't want you around somebody like that getting pregnant at 16 and then going through what she went through and what she worked so hard to kind of, I guess, get y'all away from. And she ended up, making bad decisions with y'all. So it's kind of like preventing you from going down the same lane that she's going down. And your mother is accustomed to a certain type of man, it seems like, a very powerful man, a man that can connect her and move and shake things. And, because she can see herself in you, I'm just on the outside looking in, just kind of playing, not the devil's advocate, but like as a mother, maybe my daughter deserves better. However, you have been with this man for a very long time.
Yes.
Very long time. And obviously you guys are in love. You're high school sweethearts.
Mm-hmm.
And you seem to be very level-headed that if you were, and according to your lawsuit, getting abused, whether it be emotionally or physically by this man, you strike me as the type to not take any shit from any man because the way that you are aggressively fighting back against your mother. So I don't see you kind of taking that sort of abuse from anybody. Has your husband ever, because I know you said there were some cameras planted in your house, according to your lawsuit. There was some conversations that she had uploaded or given to, I don't know, other departments. I'm not sure if it was the police or just to, I guess, make a case against alleged abuse from your husband against you. Has he ever abused you?
So no. And you said some very deep, amazing points that I want to address.
Okay.
But to answer the last thing, just in case the public are like, oh, she's avoiding it. No, he's never abused me. Okay. So you said something really good. That is a great topic, which you said, your husband, you're going to drag me for this, but I'm a submissive to my husband. I let him lead, et cetera. That is key because when Javon and I started dating as boyfriend and girlfriend, no, I was very much the, you got to do what I want type of person. Why? Because that's how my mother is, even with her own husband.
Damn.
You nailed it on the spot. This is a person who, you do what I say, or you could go with her husband like that. Like, will threaten a divorce quick. And I grew up seeing that type of behavior. I grew up seeing if you don't do what I want, okay, then I'm going to do this or what. I saw that type of behavior, that toxicity, right? Because when you're in a healthy marriage or a relationship, it shouldn't be being defensive. It shouldn't be, oh, I get to say, oh yeah, just because you're my man, whatever. Like, it shouldn't be a negative connotation when people say a woman is being submissive to her husband or he's leading her, right? And I grew up with a mother who was drilling that in my head to the point that it affected my relationship, boyfriend and girlfriend growing up, because I thought that was normal. What does that mean? I thought that, okay, if somebody says, like, if a man tells you, hey, look, I think you shouldn't spend your money on that, try to budget better or whatever. I'm used to hearing, I do what I want with my money. You're not going to tell me or whatever. And, that type of toxicity and that type of behavior. And so that messed me up, not only with my relationship with my boyfriend, with all my friends, because I was always so defensive. I always thought, oh, like, it's a disrespect, whatever is being said. Like, it was always a defense mechanism. And so when you're raised by a mother who teaches you that and teaches you basically that really men aren't shit. That's how she operated her whole entire life. Unfortunately, even though my stepdad was a remarkable partner, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. That's how she went about that theme of men aren't shit. Excuse my language. Sorry for that. And so you saying that about your husband and being submissive, I don't think I became like healthy communicator until I got married last year. Up until the 14 to 28, 29, it was very much me being more controlling, because that's what I was taught. Like, I have to run him and I have to be controlling and this and that. And that's how I was taught. It wasn't until after everything happened and we saw how bad that really bit our situation in the butt, it wasn't until like really having a self-reflection, communicating, that now I could feel like we're equal partners and it's not me trying to control him and me, me not trying to make him submit to me. And I feel like we both have conversations and he leads in a respectful way. And now I listen. Before, oh no, he couldn't lead me. He couldn't tell me what to do, like 100%. So you're on the nail with that. And I think it has to do with the type of mother and the type of stuff that I grew up around seeing. So I'm glad that you said that. And to address your thing about the prejudice, I think it's a prejudice, but then I want the people to know that a person who isn't racist doesn't use the NIGGER word or use racial slurs when they want to put down another person. And so she very much did that. And that was a shocker for me, right? And if there's anything that you probably notice with all my interviews, I'm not really a cursor. I'm not really a person that talks like that. I don't think I need to bring anybody down to feel superior. And so that's why I said racist, because a prejudiced person doesn't just use racial slurs when they're upset. And yeah, that's kind of my take. You put valid points, and then to the DV, no. If anything, and if I'm being 100% completely honest, and I think that's why a lot of the things she has been trying to hide, I was probably the more toxic, abusive person as far as control, like controlling, like toxic. I wouldn't even, however you guys want to label it. And so I had to really learn. And I think that it stems from the abandonment issues of like, oh, like, you don't leave me, don't do this, and the self-defense. So I had to work on that. And he had to work on communicating with me. But no, there's never been any violence, and there's evidence of that. And that's why nothing happened in the criminal case. And yeah, that's my answer to all of that.
Okay, so that was a very in-depth question. I'm making notes. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a circle back on some things. Okay. Because I'm always, and I'm very transparent with my viewers, and I'm not trying to. Your reality is very different from my reality, right? Mm-hmm. And I had a very toxic relationship with my mother coming up, and my mother, I didn't start living with her till I was like 7. I was raised by my grandparents as well. Oh. And, when I got with her, it was kind of like, I'm your mom. And I'm like, okay, who are you? Because she had went off and got married and had my 2 sisters. And then there was an incident that happened to me under my grandmother's watch that, my grandmother had to work, and I was unfortunately touched by my uncle. And so that's when my mom just kind of picked me up, and I had to go through court and everything, but there was no therapy done for me per se, even though I did have to go to court and testify against, my uncle and all that shit for touching me. And then we flew off to Germany, and here I am taken away from everything that I know to go and live with her. And it was some hard adjusting emotionally, just making new friends and just not having my family that I knew. Like, I come from a small town where, I knew the whole town as a 6-year-old on how to get to my grandmother's house or get to my cousin's house. That's how small and intricate it was. To now I'm in Germany, my dad's deployed Afghanistan, and we're here, and she's trying to be a mother under the age of 23 with 3 kids. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And that caused a lot of, a big disconnection between her and I. And it became very toxic to where if she couldn't control me, she would beat me to control me severely. Like, there were times where she would tie me up and for hours and beat me. And because, I was a bad kid. I acted out. I remember one time the judge telling her, if your daughter come back in here again, I'm sending you to jail. So, her being, a young mother, she did what she was taught, beat her, and it was never no conversations or anything like that. And so, we all suffer from abuse in different ways. Mine was more physical and emotional. It sounds like, did your mom ever put hands on you? She ever beat you?
My thing was
Okay.
more verbal and controlling, and
Okay.
I'm so sorry that you went through that. That's
Yeah,
terrible.
no, I've done my therapy, girl. We good. Like, I'm 43 years old. Like, I don't hold that against my mom at all. Like, we're in a beautiful space.
Okay,
So, but that took years. And you're talking about your mom. Like, your mom strikes me as the type of person, and I see it a lot because I deal with people for a living. Probably should have went to school for some sort of therapy or psychiatry, but I chose this. It's more fun. But it does dwell along the lines, but your mother strikes me as the type of person that she's not happy with a lot of the decisions that she's made. And so her accolades come from being able to help people and try to control them so that they won't end up making the same decisions that she made. I'm sure being a part of the cartel, she's seen things that she will just bury with her. And she probably has a hard time opening up to therapists about it. And so all she knows how to do is try to control her environment and things around her and the people around her in order to make herself feel safe, secure, and sane.
That's a good point, maybe, but
Yeah.
yeah, she
And,
got a lot of issues.
yeah. And it shouldn't have gotten to this point, right? Could I have done things legally to my mother? Absolutely. Right. And trust me, there was a time, and I shared this with my winos a few weeks ago. I said there was a time where my stepdad was dying from cancer, and we're going to get into the gist of the lawsuit here in just a second. But I just kind of wanted to touch bases with you because I do really feel that this doesn't have to go here, and I feel that it's going to be a breakthrough in this. But what's wrong is what's wrong. Like, people shouldn't be manipulating and using systems to try to intimidate, scare, lock up, none of that. That's all fucked up and that's wrong. Especially if she did that and those people helped her to do that to you, right? But it just goes to show how out of body your mother is. It's like she lives in a very reactionary phase. But I say this to say that when could I have taken a legal issue? No. I mean, yes, I could have. Could I have hated my mother? I'm talking about, like, I remember one time I wanted to do everything that she did to me and it was going to end bad. And that moment led me into a spiritual awakening because I was going to kill my mom. I don't like to use those words, but it had got so bad and I was in my adult years and I was married with a child. And she called me and asked me for some help. And my stepfather was dying of cancer. And it went so bad that she blamed everything on me and tried to fight me. And it just took me back to when I was a child, at how she would always pounce on me or belittle me verbally. And then I left in anger where I checked out, forgot about the husband, forgot about the daughter, forgot about everything. And I was like, I just want to get her back. And so I literally was going to turn the car around. And if it wasn't for me calling a friend and then putting on YouTube and listening to Wayne Dyer, I would have turned around and I would have had my mom join my stepfather. That's how mentally and emotionally I was gone from having a mother have me at 16 years old. And if she probably would have had the money that your mom had, oh my God. Oh my God. Like, and she's done things like that where she'll give people cars, take them back if you don't do what she wants you to do. Like, I mean, she's done a lot of things like that to other people, but because I know her personality, I've never accepted anything, from her. But because she lived in a reactionary phase and she still lives in a very reactionary phase, the breakthrough was through me. Like, there was nothing I could do to get her to change. However, she's not that person anymore because I'm an adult and there's certain things that she can't do to me. Now, your situation is different because she actually has access to a lot of power and things like that. But I'm just wondering, if you were to take another path, would you want to sue your mother?
So First of all, again, I'm so sorry all of that stuff happened to you, and I'm glad that you were able to have what I think is a rare outcome, right? In a situation like
Mm-hmm.
that, where you were able to heal, go through therapy, and still repair a relationship that most people would not even entertain doing. So I commend you for that, and I'm sorry that
Thank
you went
you.
through that. So I do want to say
Thank
that
you.
because I don't want to just
No,
brush
thank
it
you.
off.
And I'm just trying to
Yeah.
create like a line of.
No, and I think you and I connect in a lot of things. So it's interesting to hear your story and the parallels in my story. And so, no, my mom never physically abused me. But again, I think number one, I was never a troubled kid. I
Okay.
was a nerd. I
Okay.
was a very by the book person. If people haven't
Mhm.
noticed with my interviews, I have lived a life doing everything that I could possibly correct and right for the reasons of having to deal with both of my parents being taken from me due to the drug and the street life. And so I intentionally made sure to stay out of trouble. I always said when I have a kid, I wasn't going to be involved in that type of stuff. That's why I've never drank alcohol. That's why I've never done any drugs. That's why I've never been around people that do that type of things. I've always walked a straight line because I always said, I don't want to end up like my parents. I don't want to do that to my children. I want to make sure that I become like, the 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 opposite of them, right? Because
Right.
I was sad, I was mad, I had abandonment issues, and so I made sure to walk a straight line. So I always lived like by the book and was a by the book person.
Mm-hmm.
It was drastic. Like I've never drunk alcohol, and I can tell you, you can call 100 people from my high school, middle school, college to adulthood, and they will all tell you this girl has never drank alcohol. Nothing. I purposely did that because I was so traumatized to not have mom and dad and have to, you know, be a child and miss them and not understand what was going on, that I purposely made sure to always write a straight line. So I never gave her a hard time. The only thing I did was protest when you're pulling me out of my home, taking me from my grandfather. And it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
for the reason of, oh, I got my stuff together and I have a house. It was also because she spent probably 25 years hating my grandfather's partner, hating her. And she raised me, and I called her mom growing up because I was with this lady from 9 months to 13. And I called her mommy, and she hated her. And so that didn't sit well with her. So when she had the opportunity to take me out, she took me out. She put me to live with her. And it wasn't so much for, oh, because I have my shit together, excuse my language. It was more like, let me hurt that lady that I hate so much, spite her. And then it was second, then, okay, well, now I got my stuff together. So I want people to understand that because that's an issue in itself, right? Because then she wanted me to hate the person that raised me and I called mom. So then it was like telling me stuff as a child. Oh, well, she treats me bad and she's manipulating you and this and that and that. And so it's like, I can't hate somebody that was feeding me and taking me to school and washing me when you weren't around. And I love her. And now you're trying to badmouth her to me as a child. And I'm not understanding, like growing up and making me feel guilty for loving a woman who raised me. And then I'm not supposed to be mad when you rip me from my grandfather and my mom, right? The lady I consider my mom forced me to live with you to spite her. Assume that I don't see through the BS because I did see through the BS when you did that. And then impose your rules and your control. And then if I respond or I don't agree with you or something as we grew up or whatnot, as I was growing up, I'm labeled as the black sheep. I'm labeled as, oh, all the worst parts of you are you're just like your biological dad because she hates him. So then I got that growing up. And so it became like, it was almost like I was a reminder of her relationship with my biological dad, who she despises. So that triggered her a lot. If I would say anything that resembled something he would say or anything, then I got that. Then I had to deal with the, oh, she's a bad person, the lady that I call my mom. And so I don't think is as simple as your situation where you had every reason to hate your mom because she physically abused you. Mines were hidden manipulations that were testing at me, and hidden and then direct manipulations, right? And then control and narcissism. And then if I didn't agree, it was like I was the problem child because everybody else is doing what you want them to do. And then it was like she almost like resented me for loving the lady who raised me. And then it's almost like she resented me for just like I remember one day, and I'll never forget it, because my grandmother called her and said, "Don't ever say that to your child again." And I'm never going to forget it, because that's one thing, you parents, when you say things and you strike a nerve, it really can mess up. She said to me, like I quoted earlier, "All the bad things about you you're just like your father." And that hurt me to the core, because this is a man that I grew up despising because he wasn't around. He tried to take me away from my grandfather because they were going through it. So they were trying to spite each other. And so now I'm in family court at 12 years old, seeing a therapist, trying to figure out who they want me to live with, because he wants to, get at her and she wants to get at him. And so now I'm being pulled, and I don't want to be with either of them. I want to be with my grandfather. And so I had to deal with that. And that's public record, like family court dockets. And so, my grandfather ended up getting 50-50 custody with my mother. But I had to deal with her resenting my biological dad, like putting that on me, right? Resenting the lady who raised me, resenting that I was living with them. Well, whose fault is that? You decided to do. My grandfather was doing pretty well. My grandmother was a psychologist, and she was in law school when she decided to sell drugs, second year. Who told you to sell drugs? You had no, I understand when people are born in that environment. She was not born in that environment. My grandfather was a great father. She had a roof over her head. She did not need anything. My grandmother was a psychologist. She went to Mercy College. She wasn't a product of her environment, as you would say. She chose that because she was hungry for the bills, the big bills. She was selfish. So there's no excuse. She wasn't a product of her environment. She came from a 2-parent household, which most people don't come from. 2 full-time business owners. They did well. They gave her everything she needed. And when I tell you, my grandparents were phenomenal. So much so that she got arrested and he took me in. And so I think she resented that. And it's like, but why take that out on me? Like, that's your problem. You got to go to therapy for that. And so it became a lot of that. And so that's what I want to address to your points, that it is a lot of narcissism and control. And it's almost like her resenting her choices. And then seeing my father, my biological father, in me, that was a trigger to her. I'm sorry. I can't change who was my sperm donor, right? Essentially, I can't do anything about that. Sorry. And I'm sorry that I love a woman who raised me and who was good to me when I was a child. And so that
I can tell you right now, as a mom, it's just, when you have kids, do you plan on having kids one day?
Yes.
It just hits different. You can have people that are great to your kids. Mm-hmm. But if my child calls anybody else's mother, it's going to be a motherfucking problem.
Yeah.
Whether I raised you or not, like, I put my life on the line, I had you. It's just the way we love is toxic sometimes, and so it helped me to have a lot of grace towards my mom. Now let's get into these allegations, okay? Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know, I did cover your case a couple weeks ago. I don't know if it got back to you that I covered it. In detail. We went through your lawsuit. We went through all of the allegations that you are alleging. And the 2 that stuck out to me was, I guess, you taking the job taking the job with your mom, with Roc Nation, and then her making you work a sizable amount of hours, and even staging, according to you, a fake gig in order to keep you away from your current husband now. And so turns out that the woman that you were talking to that was, I guess, representing Nike, never represented Nike. She was in fact a psychiatrist. and I guess trying to get information on you. And then it was a company, I guess after you look deeper, it was a company that was started the day before that you met with them. Like, explain that.
Okay, yeah. So let me clarify. So, okay, so I went to school for sociology and social work, criminal justice.
Okay.
I had several jobs, social worker jobs, working for survivors of torture, domestic violence, and human trafficking. That's why this is the hypocrisy of this.
Okay.
And that's what I did most of the time. The pandemic
Okay.
hit in 2020. That organization I was working for shut down. I needed to get a job.
Okay.
Iconic Creative Agency is not part of Roc Nation. So Iconic Creative Agency, how I was presented with the opportunity was Benny Frahella was my little brother's personal trainer when we were basketball trainer. He started off as a basketball trainer and then eventually ended up starting a creative agency with his wife, Elizabeth Frahella, here in Miami. They opened up Iconic. My mother obviously knew Benny because he was my brother's trainer. And so when I was looking for a job and I lost my job, I said, do you know anybody that's hiring? Nobody's hiring during the pandemic. And I really want a job. She's like, let me ask around. She said, hey, I know somebody who used to be your little brother's trainer. He's hiring and he's willing to take your resume and then whatever, they'll get in contact with you. I said, sure, why not? Because I was desperate for a job and it was the first time that I ever asked her to give me a referral. I did the interview with Benny and Liz, got the job. Roc Nation was never, they did jobs for Roc Nation, 1 or 2 when I started, but they don't have a contract with them. And I want to be 100% honest. They don't have a contract with them. And I didn't know. So all I'm getting presented with is this is my little brother's trainer. And, they're not that close. That's what I was presented with. That's what I thought. Started the job, did that for a few years. And things started to get weird. Like I started to get suspicious of things.
Okay.
I was asked to start staying late. I was asked do you want to travel? It was like, come to this event because this basketball player is going to be here. Like almost like them trying to set me up with people. It became very inappropriate for a typical work job. Boundaries were crossed. I was getting calls 1, 2 a.m. This lady sharing with me her marriage issues, making me feel like I was her daughter, telling me that, she's had 2 kids prior in her divorce and lost them, and making me feel like I was family. And it was honestly, they were grooming me. Like when I look at it and I analyze it, they were really grooming me to trust them, to genuinely care about them, to feel a part of they were grooming me like I was like going over their house. If the dog had an emergency and they trusted me to go, I was like sharing personal things, family issues, and at that point I was like, okay, well, even though boundaries are being crossed, these people are good people, really making me think that they cared about me, to try to get me to talk, right? To try to get info out of me essentially. But one thing about me is I always let people talk and share, and I respond and, give support. But I know, I'm like, no, I'm not going to share any personal business with my employer. At the end of the day, she's my employer and she can fire me and all of that. So that's when I started noticing things were weird. It was no longer them acting like my bosses. They were acting like I was really their daughter. And then it was inappropriate. Oh, we're not going to work in the office today. Why don't you come work in our house till 10 o'clock at night? And I'm like, no, I'm okay. I don't want to do that. Or, why don't you come to the if a family member of theirs was in the hospital, we're going to work from here. Why don't you come? Just trying to include me in things that were inappropriate. And so that's when I started getting suspicious. It wasn't until 2023 in November. So Iconic Creative Agency has always had contracts with Nike and the Jordan brand to do activations, marketing for them, or brand drops and all that stuff. They've always had that. And so when I started there, they had a thing. Nike had a thing called the Nike Academy. The Nike Academy is basically part of Nike's diversity and inclusion program, where they wanted to provide workshops to potential small businesses and vendors who wanted to learn how to how to seal a contract with a brand like Nike. And so during these workshops, they would host like small businesses that maybe won't have a shot in the door with Nike or Jordan to like do an event for them. They would do these workshops to tell them, this is how you do a proposal. This is how you write a budget for us. This is how, you pitch a brand deck for us and we can consider you. So they were doing workshops. Iconic got invited to join that workshop. We were doing that for a few months and then they stopped. They said the workshops, that they were going to figure out if diversity inclusion was going to stay in Nike or not, and that stopped. Come 2023, they were like, oh, they text me randomly at like 11 o'clock at night. I'm sure you see all the screenshot. I can send it to you. And she was like, hey, I forgot to tell you there's a Nike Academy call tomorrow. I remember talking to her that night and I'm like, well, I thought they canceled the Nike Academy because they were trying to decide if they're going to get rid of the diversity program. She's like, no, it was last minute and we're traveling at an event. So I need you to be at the office tomorrow and run the Zoom. I said, okay. Go to the office. Nobody is there. It's just me. I go on to this. She sends me the link and, the lady introduces herself as Rachel Thomas. Her name is really Dr. Rachel Bernstein. She's a therapist that specializes in sex cults. She identifies herself as Rachel Thomas, tells me she's the Nike director for the academy. And I was like, because I already had participated in the workshop. So I was like, something's weird. I'm only here. And I've been working long enough with Iconic to know how Nike operates, to know that it was wrong. But she was making it seem like, how those corporate companies do those work-life balance where they'll have like a therapist. She made it seem like she's that person for Nike. Like, oh, it's just like a workshop to talk about how we can improve and work-life balance. That's how she was framing it. But because I'm smart and I have social work experience, I started to notice that she was doing what's called like an intake assessment. That's what I do with my clients, and a safety plan. And so that is something that I was trained to do for people who suffer from domestic violence and survivors of torture and are suicidal. You start asking them questions to develop a safety plan so that they have a safety plan if they need to escape or something like that. So she started asking me the questions that I learned and was trained to ask my clients. And so once I noticed that she was trying to do that and I would catch on and switch it back to Iconic, she was getting suspicious. And so what did I do? I said, hey, do you give consent to recording me since my colleagues couldn't be here today so I can share the recording with them since this is such an amazing workshop? And she gave me consent. So that's when I started recording her saying she works for Nike. She's the Nike brand director, lying and saying she's Rachel Thomas, not telling me she's a therapist for sex codes, not asking consent for psychological evaluation, completely committing fraud, completely conspiring with Benny and Liz to trick me, completely lying. And so once she found out, because I told her, yeah, I used to be a social worker and I used to work here and this and that, she was like, she noticed, oh crap, we can't trick this girl. This was after 3-4 sessions that they told me I had to go. But I already knew I was taking notes. And then I said, hey, can you give me your website? Since you said you're an author and you work for Nike, give me your website. Would love to send it with the colleagues. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm busy. I'll send it when I can. She sends it 3 days later because they had to build the website. Fake domain, fake everything. And when she found out that I was a social worker, she must have tipped them off. They must have said, we can't trick her. And the website was deactivated. And then all of a sudden, no more academy stuff. And so I saved all of that. I made sure to give it to my investigative team. And what happens? A week later, my husband's arrested for the first time.
Yeah, because I was going to say, did this lead up to her trying to involuntary commit you under the Baker Act in Florida and have you hospitalized for an evaluation because she felt like you were being emotionally and physically abused or endangered by your husband, whom was arrested, according to you?
No, so that's not what led to it. So when you guys read the amended complaint, my mother tried 3 times to try to figure out how to institutionalize me. The first time was the incident on September 14th, 2023. She calls my poor grandmother, may she rest in peace. My uncle, her son, has MS, muscular dystrophy. I'm sure you're aware what that disease is.
Yeah.
She calls my grandmother when I'm with my grandmother out and about and screaming, and says that my uncle is dying and we need to rush him to the hospital because he's having an episode. So we're rushed. We're going 90 on the freeway to get there. Long and behold, my grandma wasn't a part of this. She didn't even know, unfortunately. She almost had a heart attack, literally, because they're telling her son is going to die. And I'm going 90 on the freeway to get there, see my whole entire family. And her saying, oh no, we need to talk to you, whatever. And I was like, what? Like, did you lie? I was so upset. Imagine, I'm thinking my uncle is dying. Like, why would you do? So I'm trying to leave. She's not letting me leave. I had to call the police because she closed the electrical gate. She whispered in my ear, threatened me, called Javon the NIGGER word, which I will not say, and tells me, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to have you committed and away from that NIGGER. She's hitting me, punching me from not hopping the gate. My poor dog. I'm trying to not drop my dog. Pinecrest police comes, forces her to open the door. And she tries telling them she's suicidal. And I'm like, what? So they separate everybody. They ask me questions. And they're like, nothing is wrong with this girl. You guys are holding her against her will. Help me call an Uber, document everything, and tell me I'm free to go. That was the first time.
Okay.
The second time was Dr. Rachel Bernstein at Iconic. And then Javon's arrest happened a week after. And then the third time that they were successful was the Marchman Act. No, I'm sorry. The third time was the Roc Nation assistant showing up at my grief counselor's office and showing up and saying she's an anonymous tip and saying that I was being raped. And my grief counselor telling her she needs to leave her premises and that she's not going to violate HIPAA and disclose if I am or not a patient and to please leave. That was the third time. And then the fourth time was successful on March 27, 2024, when Dr. Daniel Bopar and Sig9 and all these individuals falsely Baker acted. So four attempts, the fourth was a successful.
So let me ask you a question. How do you know they conspired with your mother, or maybe your mother happened to convince them that you were having mental issues?
Okay, so the evidence, which I can send that to you, the evidence is overwhelming. Number one, you guys saw a snippet of the body cam. Full body cam will show you me saying, you were hired by Desiree Perez. I know she's paying you, and him saying, well, all doctors get paid. So body cam footage. Then we have James Fondo from Sig9 saying, we put a GPS tracker in her car. That's how we know she's coming, the car, and saying all that stuff, and the full video of that. Then we have evidence, which we will release that in court, of her relationship with James Fondo prior to all of this. Then we have overwhelming evidence of body cams, audio, public records requests, and emails of all these individuals conspiring to get the goal was get Demoree committed so she can't testify in favor of her then boyfriend. That was in email, public record.
He could be jailed.
Where he could be jailed and I wouldn't have to show up to testify. That was the purpose of the Baker and the Marchman Act. It wasn't because she was concerned. We have an email record of Brett Schwartz falsely saying he's my attorney, emailing the state attorney, them telling them we don't have probable cause or evidence to make an arrest for misdemeanor DV, and Brett Schwartz forgetting that he blind copied the state attorney and thinking he's having a side conversation with my mother, D. Perez, S. Carter Enterprise. We have that. They forget. And he says, well, we don't have evidence for the misdemeanor. Maybe we can try to meet with a brainwashing expert specialist, and maybe come up with a plan to have her committed and then pursue him for felony human trafficking.
So she accidentally emailed you and he emailed you back?
No, they emailed. So here in Florida, we have the Sunshine State Law, I think is what it's called, where anything that's emailed to the state attorney's office or any public official office is public record. So our investigative team, one of the amazing things that they've been able to do is do public records requests. And here in the state of Florida, luckily, when you do a public records request, if, like I said, if there's emails between state officials, that's public record. So what did we uncover? We uncovered emails between all these attorneys and these law firms and my mother, emailing the state attorney's office in Florida, trying to influence them to press charges on my husband, even though there wasn't probable cause. And then this Brett Schwartz forgetting, because they were all CC'd on the emails with the state, forgetting that he had the state attorney's office blind copied and conversating with my mother on email while the state attorney is seeing the emails. And so now that's part of the public record. So that's how we were able to uncover him and my mother saying, oh man, I'm trying to quote it best, but
I got you.
Yeah, we don't have enough. And him saying, well, maybe we can hire a brainwashing expert, and, try to get her committed, and then try to say that it's felony human trafficking. And her saying, right, whatever, try to see if they can push back his hearing, whatever they can do to keep Javon on edge. This is all.
So they did all this, tried to commit you, get a brainwashing expert for you to then testify against your husband so that he would go to jail for how long? Would these charges stick if they were to be successful?
Not to testify, to get me not to show up. Because if I show up, I'm gonna tell the truth. So if they commit me, I can't show up, right? And so that was the intention. So it wasn't because she was concerned, people. We have the email proof of him saying, well, since we don't have probable cause and they don't want to charge him with a misdemeanor, DV, then let's have her committed and let's make it seem like she's crazy. And then let's pursue him for felony human trafficking. Felony human trafficking, you could get, if you can prove something like that, you can get over 20 years. But there is no evidence of human trafficking. We have 3 prosecutors saying in an email, and we have court records and the whole case and the hearing of them saying there is no probable cause for a misdemeanor DV. Misdemeanor is the smallest offense. There's no probable cause. There's not enough. The evidence is questionable.
But I guess the next question would be, because it seems like you and your mother have the issue, and why doesn't she like your now husband, who was your boyfriend for 15 years? Why? What happened?
Nothing happened. That's what I'm trying to tell you. She's always not liked him. So from the get-go, since 14, she's always not liked him. She just didn't think we were going to last this long. So it became whatever, I don't like him. First, it was the Liberty City, him being Black. Then it was in college. Oh, he's a football player. He's going to cheat on you with everybody. He's a piece of shit. Football players are stupid. Then it was, now when she saw we lasted after college, then it became, he should work for Roc Nation instead of work as a paralegal. They don't make money, this and that. And I'm like, well, whatever. That's what he wants to do. Then when he turned that down, he wanted to open his own business. Then it became, well, why is he going to open a business in landscaping? That's stupid. And why are you going to be a part of that? Why don't you guys just come and open up something over here, move to New York and make money and this? And then we don't want to do that. Then that became a problem. Then it became back to me moving to represent a specific artist that she wanted me to represent. I was like, I don't care for the entertainment industry. Then it became, well, why are you doing social work? That doesn't make money. And I'm like, well, that's what I like to do. Then it became, when I was working with Liz and Benny, oh, I got you that job and you're not smart and this and this. And then it became, well, why are you in business with Javon? That business isn't making money. That's a stupid business. You guys should do this. And then us just like saying no to that, she started to think, oh, then he must be coercing her, because why would she say no to this? Or, he must be pressuring her because why doesn't she want to move to New York and work in the entertainment industry? When I'm more than capable of making my own decisions and speaking for myself. And if I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do something. So because that was so unbelievable to her, then she needed to blame somebody else. Oh, it has to be Javon because, he has to be manipulating her. He has to be abusing her, because why would she say no to me? Because everybody else went with her. Everybody else did what she wanted, right? Everybody else is living comfortably, right? Everybody else is sticking to the line like she wants them to. And everybody else puts with when she's upset, I bought you that car. You better do what I say or I'll take it away. Grown adults. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with the threat. She used to do it to my grandmother. May she rest in peace. Oh, I bought you that house. You better comply with what I say or you're out, threatening to kick my grandmother out. If I'm seeing that, do you think I want to be a part of that? No. And so when I was the only Black wolf of the family to say no to that, right? I rather have a regular 9-to-5 and have peace in my life than deal with somebody, than be a millionaire or making 8 figures or whatever the hell she's making, and be controlled and have to deal with the abuse of somebody threatening to take away something from me because they don't like how I behave. I don't want to deal with that. She does it with all my siblings. She did it to her own mother. She does it to everyone. And so she doesn't understand that I don't want to deal with that because they're living comfortably and dealing with that. So she blames Javon constantly. She thinks it's coercion, and she just doesn't understand that I was raised by my grandfather, so I think differently. She tried to do it with my grandfather. He didn't accept a dime from her ever.
So let me ask you a question. And it's horrible if this happened, and I have to say allegedly. You also allege that there were, trackers being put on you. Obviously, there were cameras or recording devices put in your bedroom. I did read in the lawsuit that you said that your phone was logged in at, I guess a location that was right next to Roc Nation, and you felt like your mom's IT team hacked your devices to, I guess, see your messages, or what was the reason?
So nothing that I'm stating, I feel.
Okay.
Everything that I know, and I
I'm
know you have
sorry.
to say
And
allegedly.
because I am a very big platform,
No, I know.
we
I
have
love
to
that
be,
you're saying allegedly. I
yeah,
love
we
it.
have to
I love
be,
it.
careful. And then at the same time, it's like, this is mother and daughter. So like, you could decide you want to drop this next year and be like, that's my mom, fuck it. There could be a act of God, Lord forbid something happens to your mom, and it just changes things in perspectives. Like, whereas we may be, where she may have gone overboard with the arresting and trying to get your husband locked up and trying to put trackers and shit on you, there may be an act of God that helps to reset her mind to where she's able to back out and be like, yo, I went too far. And, she could come to you one day and be like, I apologize deeply to you or your husband. And so I'm just, you just never know how these things could go, right? And so, and I'm going to ask you about that though, but like, as far as the alleged recordings and your iPhone being logged in at a Roc Nation headquarter, like, how did you come into all of this information?
Okay. So, and I appreciate you for all saying that. Okay. So I hired an amazing investigative team and legal team. So
Okay.
everything that I'm presenting to the court, we have some type of document, body cam proof, timestamp, email, some type of
I
evidence,
saw you
right?
were very detailed in the lawsuit. So,
Yes. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. My
Okay.
attorney is phenomenal. And so the difference between us and Roc Nation and Dr. Bovar and CTS and all these people is that we are true speakers and we back up what we say with proof and evidence, and we do not manipulate anything. And so I want to be very, very clear. So I found out about my devices and everything being hacked because my iPhone and my Apple Watch were pinning to Roc Nation headquarters. It then pinned to say that I had a second device. I had to meet with an Apple expert and my investigative team. And I got confirmation that there was a second device that hacked my iCloud, logged in to my iCloud from that second device, downloaded, backed up all my information into that second device. That second device was feeding to Roc Nation the whole entire time. And so was my Apple Watch. Then not only did we uncover that through just people saying that I was like, I share my location for safety with like a couple of best friends and my husband. And so they were like, why are you pinning to Roc Nation? What is going on? And so that's what led me to start digging and having the investigative team look. And so we were able to confirm that. The tracker, we were able to confirm that through the body cam. But not only that, we were able to confirm all the surveillances and the tracking and everything because she hired men to live across the street, both licensed and unlicensed. Raymond Gonzalez, Justin Gonzalez, Jeffrey Brown, Maurice Batista, the list goes on. We know you all. They're all in the amended complaint to live across the street from us, rent the house. We have proof of that. And watch us 24/7, follow us, take pictures, do all of that stuff. And so we have the evidence of that. We have body cam of that. I had to call the police on 3 different occasions to accuse Raymond Gonzalez for aggravated stalking because he didn't have a PI license. So in here in the state of Florida, when you follow somebody without a license and you're just a man following a woman 24/7, it's considered criminal aggravated stalking. And so I had to file police reports on that individual and his son and multiple people involved in this. And then through the investigative process in the case, just them uncovering the iCloud, them uncovering. So in Javon's case, them filing things and providing the state attorney office with evidence that's considered public records, us getting that evidence and us being able to see that softwares that forensic specialists who do what's called photo dumping, usually the feds do that, was being done on my phone and Javon's phone. And that would be presented in court. That we're waiting because that's a smoking gun, right? But just that's what was touched upon in the amended complaint. That's what I'll touch upon here. And so we have evidence of all of that. We have everything. And then not only that, things like when the feds came to interview me, screenshots that were submitted of alleged texts that they were trying to circulate of Javon and I, showing me the screenshot and the feds grabbing my phone, scrolling to the alleged date that the text was sent from Javon and I, putting it next to the screenshot and it not being the same text message. So
I fed come to you
because she tried to do a report for human trafficking. So when I was in life skills, the feds came to visit me and interview me to present me with the evidence that she had and to ask me if I was being human trafficked and labor trafficked is what she was claiming. And so I was able to sit with the feds for 5 hours during an interview and defute one by one, because I have this amazing iPhone that has timestamps. I'm a person that saves everything. And so I was able to prove. I can give you an example. There was a piece of evidence that she submitted of so-called me getting my teeth knocked out by Javon and a photo looking like I was completely beat up. It was me getting my wisdom teeth pulled out. And I had a picture of it. She was with me. The photo pinned to the dental office. It was a picture from 2013 when I was in high school. And I was able to, they were able to get in touch with the dental office and get the records. And it was the same timestamp in the day. And she used that photo and said he knocked my teeth out. Then that's what I'm telling you. This is a lot of fabrications. Then there was like photos of like, I got into a car accident in 2018, very bad car accident. I'm sure you're well aware when you have to go to the insurance, they need photos, they need evidence, they need medical records. One of them, my grandmother was taking pictures of me with all my brace and everything and all my bruises, along with the report to Progressive. Thank God I had that record. Photos of like the bruises from the car accident, bruises from my neck, and all that, me crying or in the hospital, were submitted to the feds and to the prosecutor's office to say that those were evidence of abuse when they were evidence of a car accident. So very twisted, sick stuff to set up an innocent Black man in America. And not only that, the audios. So the audios that she was trying to circulate of the alleged verbal abuse, not true. That's why Jaguar released body cam of that day.
Okay.
The witnesses relaxing and watching soap operas and Javon living in the house after that, and everybody being fine with him because there was no abuse that happened that day and those audios were manipulated. They submitted 5 audios to the state attorney's office. They're all 5 minutes and they're supposed to be the same audio. And it's like, why are you not submitting the full 30 minutes of the alleged argument if it's not edited? You're submitting 5 minutes. And so the state attorney's office is like, well, wait a minute. And why is the audio stopping and pausing here? And why do we have five formats of the alleged same audio? So stuff was edited. And we have the so-called witnesses on body cam the day of the incident, not giving statements to police, not saying that they heard any arguments, sitting down and relaxing. And the proof in the pudding is proof that 1 week later, she's buying Javon Dolphin tickets for his birthday, texting him, I love you, my son, whatever the hell, this and that. If you supposedly thought that I was getting choked out and beat up, and so did the witnesses, why would you allow him to still be in your father's house? Why would you buy him Dolphin tickets? Why would you do this and that? So that's my response to you as a mother. You wouldn't do that, right? If you thought your child was being abused, you wouldn't be.
I don't have. First of all, I don't have those resources and capabilities to do that. And 2, no, that's bizarre. And I want to ask you: has your mother ever been diagnosed with any sort of mental illness? I know that there's a personality disorder, obviously with the narcissism, but mental illness, maybe bipolar, something.
Not that I know, but you know what's crazy? When we were doing the family therapy, my therapist told her she needed to see somebody repeatedly. She definitely, I do think, I don't like to diagnose people because I was falsely like accused of that type of stuff. But I
Yeah.
definitely think something is not right there. And I have overwhelming evidence,
I
Tasha.
got you. I got you.
And
And we're going to be following your case because I'm sure there's going to be some sort of gag order imposed, especially after you do the interview with me and we go live with it because we have a substantial platform. And I'm sure your mom's not going to be too happy about it. I've had several people say, don't take the interview, don't take the interview. And I'm like, why? Like, I wasn't there. I wasn't a part of it. And my platform is for anybody. If Desiree wanted to come sit down and talk about the issues that she had with you, I would allow her to do that. And so why would I not allow you to tell your story? You publicly filed a lawsuit that made a lot of allegations against your mother and the companies and the people that she's associated with. It went extremely viral. You went to mainstream news first to break the story, of course, because I was told that if you would have brought it to urban news, she would have shut it down really fast. And I've seen uh, um, a few people like DJ Academics. He's online stating, I want no issues with Roc Nation. Please leave me alone. It seems to be that a lot of people are afraid of your mother and that they've had their own issues with her. I haven't had any issues with her. And I've reported on Roc Nation things. I don't think I've ever reported on her. She hasn't made my lineup until your lawsuit came to be. And then Nicki Minaj recently just went public in support of you, saying that she was going through some of the same things that you went through. I guess alleging that Roc Nation has been logging into her devices and trying to keep her from certain accolades and things like that. So yeah. Don't have a question or anything, but I do have one last question, unless there's something else you want us to know before I ask you my last question.
No, you can ask the last question and then I'll say something after because
Okay.
you're saying some really good things. So.
Okay. So your mother, she comes to you tomorrow and says, I'm going to get help. I'm sorry. I went about it the wrong way, trying to create a relationship with you, trying to fuck up your marriage. Definitely went overboard, abusing my power. And I was wrong. What would you do?
So if you would have asked me that a year ago, it would have been different. So a lot of people don't know this, and I think I touched upon it in the beginning of our interview. I spent almost a year behind the scenes trying to give grace and avoid this.
Okay.
There was no, when you're dealing with a narcissistic person, a narcissistic person who might have a mental illness, like you stated before, ego and pride, unfortunately, are more important than, and selfishness are more important than others. So if I had a mom like you, then maybe, but I'm dealing with somebody who is not well and who's a narcissist. And so behind the scenes, when I was trying to do that, I was told, you're dead to me and I want nothing to do with you. I was ignored. My husband was sued for emotional distress.
What happened with that?
She's claiming she has nothing's going on.
Okay.
As a result of her continuing to try to harass us, a frivolous lawsuit, right? What else? I was manipulated and not allowed, and my grandmother's ashes, the whole thing with her getting her ashes and going to the ceremony was a problem. And then now as recently as changing my 90-year-old grandfather's number with Alzheimer's, who remembers me, talked to me every single day since this stuff happened. I used to be with him every single day. He raised me, changing his phone number telling staff that not to connect me through to him. And if I show up, the police will be called. I was okay with abusing me, hitting me, abusing my husband, and harassing us. We'll fight it in court, okay? And a year ago, maybe I would have given you grace if you would have said sorry, but she was adamant that she didn't care and she didn't want to talk. Okay. But now inserting the man who raised me and hurting him, because if you know about dementia, they have to stick to a routine and stick to the consistent people that they remember so that their memory is okay. My grandfather knows me and Javon. If you ask him what's the name of the lady who's taking care of him in front of him, he can't tell you, but he can tell you about me and Javon because we were there 24/7 taking care of him when she wasn't. So to now purposely cancel that relationship or that connection with my grandfather, now you're hurting him. Now you see, that's the number one person in my life. That's like if somebody did something to your child, how you say you would do anything. That's like, now you my grandfather, now it's no. Why? Because that's disgusting. Nobody does that to somebody that they care about. Nobody does that to I'm past the why would she do this to her own child thing. I'm past that already, right?
Okay.
What happened to you? Your mom did that to you, right? So I'm past trying to understand why she did it to me.
But she would justify even if I brought that up to my mom today, she would still justify why she did it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I never got an apology. I never got an apology or anything. It's just I decided to forgive so that I can move forward, so that I can be happy because, going through this lawsuit, it's going to bring up a lot of stress. You're going to be fighting with her in ways and fighting several different machines that are going to try to drain you financially and make it very hard and things like that, because this is their game. This is their arena. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not telling you not to do it. You're definitely going to follow your heart and proceed. But I do want to ask you one last question. This is for the viewers. There's a lot of people that may feel that these are just rich girl problems. Like you don't actually have serious issues with your mother. And if they had a mother that had access to the things that she has access to, and only if they were watching this interview and listening to you, I'm just on the other side now, I'm on neutral side, but they would say, it kind of sounds like maybe you're a bit spoiled, maybe you're a bit entitled, maybe you don't understand the sacrifices that your mom has gone through, and maybe her way is a bit extreme but justifiable. But at the end of the day, at least you have a mom that has it and can change your life and change your husband's life. And it just seems like you are rebelling against it for whatever reasons that you want to do. What would you say to people that would say that?
I would say that that's completely crazy, right? Because I'm sorry. Let me hold on.
Go ahead. I gotta ask.
I play devil's advocate here a little bit.
They put it in the chat, so I had to ask. I was like, oh wow.
I'm glad that they put that in the chat. I'm glad that they put that in the chat. Okay. What I'll say to that. You expect me, number one, I'm going to make this very clear. My mom did not financially support me after college. So let's be 100%. I worked a regular 9 to 5. My first job, I made $16 an hour right after college. So I want to make that very abundantly clear to people. My grandfather's house, it's on the record, very humble life, even though he was a business owner. So no, I've never been a spoiled or entitled child. Especially after college, I've been an adult and I haven't lived with my mother since 2016, right after college. So that's number one, up to answer that. So there was no financial, like how you think, I don't know, like these celebrity kids, oh, my mom pays for this, for that. I was actually the only child who has really nothing like that type of thing. So no, I'm not spoiled and I'm not entitled because I've worked for everything that I have. And my grandfather provided for me when she couldn't. So that's number one. Number two, for the people who are saying, well, why don't you just work for Roc Nation, take the money, and then she wouldn't do that to you? I'm sorry. Am I supposed to take money to send an innocent man to prison for human trafficking? I'm sorry. Am I supposed to sit down and take a job at Roc Nation to lose my civil rights in a guardianship and be Britney Spears and Wendy Williams? I'm sorry, guys. Will you prefer a mother paying for all your stuff, but you have to ask permission when you want to swipe a card because she's your conservator or your guardianship person? You have to ask her
Absolutely not.
how to eat, how to sleep, and then you have to spend the rest of your life thinking about an innocent man sitting in prison being charged for human trafficking, nothing to do with human trafficking, possibly being charged for other crimes that he has nothing to do with, you losing your rights, and then I'm sorry, spending 2 weeks in a psych ward with drug addicts, men who have sexually assaulted women in there, not eating for days, being paranoid that you're going to get raped in this facility, not being able to sleep, being accused of being a drug addict when you've never ingested a drug when she sold drugs, and a doctor, Dr. Daniel Bobar, saying that if I don't accept the drugs, inject her with it. So I'm supposed to just take the money, go to Roc Nation, live in New York, give up my rights, give up my freedom, have to be under her watch. She tells me when to eat, where I could go, because that's what the guardianship is. Wendy Williams is talking about it. Look at Britney Spears, everyone. Then possibly succumb to getting falsely drugged, right? Because when you're in a guardianship and they're trying to claim incapacitation, they can prescribe medicines that you don't need. So possibly being drugged and then having an innocent man sit in prison for human. He was never going to sit in prison because there's no evidence, but just the attempt, right? Let's just say if she tried to drug me to say that, an innocent man for human trafficking to spend over 20 years of life in prison. No, guys, no, it's not. There's no amount of money in the world, even if I wasn't with Javon, that will ever get me to sell my soul and my values and my morals. I'd rather be making $16 an hour than making $1 million while an innocent man sits in prison and my rights are taken from me. And I'm being accused of being a drug addict, and then I'm getting drugged and all this stuff. No, there's no amount of money. That doesn't mean I'm entitled. That doesn't mean that I'm spoiled. That just means I'm a morally, ethically person, right? Covered by God. And I believe that what you reap, you sow in this world. And I'm not trying to have a bad conscience with God in the world. And it's honestly not about me. This is really awareness of the systematic issues and the abuse that's going on. We are seeing patterns of Roc Nation, all these huge companies, all these huge people abuse the medical system, the justice system. There's patterns. Look at the Tory Lanez case. That's all I'm going to say about that, allegedly, right? Look at the Nicki Minaj case. That's all I'm going to say about allegedly. Tory Lanez, this is what I'm going to say, did not have a fair and equal trial. I'm not here to say if he's innocent or guilty because I wasn't there. But from what I'm reading from the Shade Room, what I'm reading from TMZ, what I'm reading from all these blogs that are posting, the other side of what it could be, it seems to me that he didn't have a fair and equal trial. So I think that there's something seriously wrong if we're sitting here and there's possibly an innocent man sitting in prison. And we're just letting it fly by because Roc Nation is also powerful and we don't want to rub anybody's feathers. This is not about me. This is not about people saying, oh, she's just rich and entitled. I'm here speaking because I need to speak for people like maybe a Tory Lanez who was falsely accused, maybe a Nicki Minaj who is possibly being shadow banned and her platform being used against her. And she was being accused of being a drug addict when there's no proof of her being a drug addict. Right. And so I'm here to spread awareness. This has nothing to do with being entitled and all of that. I felt the need to come out because this is a systematic issue. They're using the same law firms, right? Allegedly. We have, it's public record, Quinn Emanuel, Reed Smith, Alex Shapiro, all these high profile individuals. It's not normal for a law firm to call the state attorney's office in my case or in anybody's other case to pressure them to press charges. What happened to the American people's rights and a fair and equal justice system? And so that's my answer to that. There's a lot of Baker Act corruption going on. There's a lot of injustice going on. TMZ, the producer, I produced the email, tried to email the state attorney to have my husband arrested. He's not a celebrity. So why does TMZ care for a misdemeanor DV case? Why are they emailing the state attorney's office? Why are they name dropping Roc Nation? Why is Laura Gatz emailing the state attorney of Florida and introducing her to Alex Shapiro from Quinn and Emanuel and quoting all
Wait a
this.
minute.
Yeah.
The attorney Laura Getz?
Yes. From Reed Smith. Go ahead. Because whoever commented that question, I'm coming with the facts and I'm coming with everything, because there are patterns in all of these cases that need to be investigated. And this is not about being rich and entitled. This is about, I'm not going to take a paycheck and sell my soul and sell my values to have possible innocent people like me falsely incarcerated, as well as Javon. So it's no longer about Javon and I and being rich and entitled or whatever everyone wants to say. It's about, we don't sell our souls for that. And so, yeah, Laura Gatz emailed the state attorney's office in Miami, Florida, introduced Alex Shapiro to the district attorney, Catherine Rundle, and to the state attorney, and said, this is Alex Shapiro. Just wanted to introduce you. He's a high profile lawyer, this and that. This is public records. We have the email. He wants to talk to you about the Javon Hadley case. And then Alex Shapiro confirming, thank you for the phone call. Like I said, here is, the reasons we listed why we think you should pursue charges on Javon Hadley. So if they're doing that in a misdemeanor DV case, you gotta question yourself, allegedly. Can you imagine what they're doing in the other cases?
Is your husband going to be speaking out?
He can't, because he's being sued. So, federal court, the gag order. So he can't. So any questions you have, I can answer to that. But
No. I was just wondering if he was ever going to speak out. I think you covered a lot. And I think it's very noble of you to stand up for your husband and do what's right and wrong. I do. Like I was having a back and forth with my team, and, I was asking them about, kind of their thoughts on your situation. Cause I always like to get they're not in the limelight. They work, with me, for me, and they're reading publications just like you. And so as I'm talking to them and I'm getting ready to take your interview, some did say they felt like, in their opinion, based off of headlines, based off of, limited research that they've done, that it does seem to be like you're just paranoid, right? Because this is a lot of shit. No, I'm just telling you. This is what they're like. If you were if a jury were to preside all over this, and like you start to name and detail all these things, and then there was a part of my team that said, I don't think she's paranoid, I think she's on point, and she was very well detailed. It's in my perspective, I think it's going to be an uphill battle for you. I don't think it's unattainable. I do think that you have a lot to prepare for, because it is a lot of entities that you have roped up into this. I don't know what your financial situation is, because this is a civil case. Are you looking to possibly turn this into a criminal investigation?
So to address every point that you just said.
Okay.
I don't think that the jury is going to see me as paranoid, because I have so much evidence,
Right.
I think it's easy for people to say, I'm not going to lie to you. Before this happened to me, when people would say Roc Nation and all this stuff about Nicki Minaj and all this bad stuff about Tory Lanez and all this bad stuff about everybody else, I used to say, oh, they're just conspiracy theorists. Or I used to just be like, oh, they're crazy or whatnot. And then it happened to me. And then I hired an investigative team. And so then it wasn't intuition and paranoia, right? Like some might think. When you have evidence and an overwhelming amount, like video, body cam, paper trails, emails, state attorney offices, a closeout memo from the prosecutor supporting Javon Hadley and not pressing charges, because it's very easy to press charges on a Black man in America for anything.
Right.
When you have a prosecutor vouching for him and questioning everything, and you have this overwhelming amount of evidence, it makes me feel so good and assured that I'm going to be okay. I don't think a jury is going to think I'm paranoid. I think the jury is going to see the truth. And the truth is, I'm a victim and Javon is a victim from Roc Nation, Desiree Perez, Daniel Bolbar, Sig 9, BSO, all the people that I listed. They traumatized us. They had us followed. They had children involved.
You
Why?
explain. Yeah,
You know,
you explain.
they
Yeah.
did all these things, and it's like, when does it stop, right? And so I don't think I will be seen as paranoid. Obviously, there's, like you said, two sides, right? People might, the internet is crazy, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
going by my faith, Tasha. I'm going by the evidence. I'm going by, you know, the law. I'm going by the jury. And I think the difference between my team and their team, like I pointed out, is we're by the book, we're legal, we have a lot of evidence, and we're never going to do anything dirty or like outside of the books, right, to win a case. And when you have an overwhelming community supporting you and vouching for you, again, I feel like we're going to be okay. I don't know. I just have this like overwhelming faith that I'm going to be okay. And it's sad, but I think that this had to happen to me because, like you said, I don't think anybody else could battle these monsters and these individuals.
Well,
Like,
I think Nicki Minaj could. She has the money to do it. And she has a legal team to make it happen. And I did want to correct something that you did put out there about Nicki. I love Nicki. We're colleagues of hers over here. We support everything that she's done. But she did quote in Vogue magazine interview that she did develop an addiction to Percocets when she was prescribed Percocets for pain. And we do notice a lot of people who do have a lot of plastic surgery. They give you these type of pills and it could lead to an addiction. So she did struggle with that. But as far as any hardcore drugs, as far as cocaine or anything like that, I don't know anything about that and stuff like that. But Nicki has spoken publicly, and it is quoted by her in major publications when it comes to that as well. But she's had her own issues, Roc Nation versus Young Money, the beef in itself, and especially given the recent NFL issue with Wayne not being selected and Kendrick being given that spot. And it's a lot of politics in music, it's a lot of big business, a lot of money. But I do know for sure that when people do hear Roc Nation, they are scared. And I always ask why. And hearing your story, and if this turns out in your favor in court, I'm just gonna sit back and be like, oh, holy fucking shit. Because, it's kind of one of those things, like you said, like people were saying things about this, as artists, but when it happened to you is when you actually believed it, And so I've had bloggers say that they've had issues with Roc Nation, but I haven't. So, and I've trust me, I've done some motherfucking stories on them, like especially Jay, and Beyonce and those kids. And I got to tell you, had they had any reason to come after me? Absolutely. But for some reason, given the size of my platform and the influence, they've decided to just, back off. I just don't understand why academics would have issues, but I don't have issues and my platform is just as powerful as his. So, yeah.
I think you may have issues. you may have issues now after this one, but
I doubt.
allegedly.
Yeah, I doubt it because like I'm very fair when it comes, and like I said, the platform is open for your mother or anybody that represents your mother to come out and speak. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not taking her side, definitely not taking your side, but I do empathize with you heavy. Like if that shit happened, you know, yeah, somebody needs to be held accountable for that. And it's fucked up. It's bullshit. And yes, I did want to take a different approach because a lot of people do have questions as to what went wrong in the relationship between you and your mother to even get to this, And so, and she's looked at as an idol in a lot of people's eyes, and then she's looked at as a monster in a lot of people's eyes as well too. And you are her direct bloodline. And like I said, people are on both sides of the fence as to whether or not is this just a daughter that's overreacting and not understanding her mother's love. But I think you very well detailed explained everything, and you don't need to really go into detail anymore. And I feel like you should just let the evidence speak for itself in court, and we will definitely be following you. And if you are successful in that and you have other evidence, please feel free to give that over to us, and we will be fair and diligent in our reporting to ensure that people are doing right. And that's what our platform is about. Like, you doing right, you ain't got to worry about being up over here. But if somebody is alleging some bullshit, we got a problem.
Yeah, it's like my mother-in-law always tells me, you never have to defend the truth. So that's why, like, coming on here, I'm not scared. Like, I'm gonna speak the truth. I'm gonna tell you. That's why I tell you, no, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be, because I have nothing to hide. The evidence speaks for itself. I'm a very credible witness. And again, like I said, something needs to be done, because if it happened to me, it's happening to people as we speak. It has happened to people from what I'm saying. There's too much patterns. There's no such thing as too many coincidences. There's too many powerful players all involved. Similar, the same law firms, the same individuals, the same type of structure, right? And so that's concerning. Just because you're Roc Nation, just because you're Reed Smith, just because you're Quinn and Emmanuel, just because you're Laura Gatz or an Alex Shapiro, does not mean that you're above the law. Just because, you know, you're a Daniel Bobar does not mean you're above the law. Money, power, and influence should not be abusing the system and abusing people. And this needs to stop, because if I was almost falsely imprisoned, my husband was falsely imprisoned, and now there's a potential man who's falsely imprisoned and other individuals, it's going to keep going. It's going to keep going until somebody says, no, this needs to stop and it needs to be investigated. And so that's really why I'm here. That's really why I want to spread awareness. That's really why I want to speak up, because I'm a victim and I know that there's other victims out there. And I know that this is a trend. Like, it's just so abusive what's going on, and it really needs to stop.
Well, let me ask you a question. So you've done some interviews with some other bloggers, not as big as our platform. Have they had any issues with their platform since you've gone public? Because I've seen a few of the interviews.
That's a good question. So they've had attempts, but because we've been treading very legally, just like I'm treading here, and providing evidence in the receipts and all that kind of stuff, they've been okay. But attempts have been made, absolutely, 1000%.
Alex Shapiro, because I know, you know, Shapiro, he's a fan of the platform.
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like, because we do speak a lot on his client, and given the recent, you know, lawsuit that his client was involved in, you know, they watch heavily. But, you know, we lived and learned from our, you know, situations in the past. And so I just know that if this turns out to be in your favor, they're going to have a problem. And if I were them, I would make it right, and make it right with you right now, so that it doesn't have to get nasty. Because then once the veil is uncovered, and you do expose everybody, it's going to be kind of hard to come back from. And you're going to give a lot of people a lot of courage to now speak up and not be afraid of them, as, you know, people claim that they are. So if I were them, I would just do the right thing.
And if I were them, I would do the right thing. And if I were them, I would stop the harassment. Stop just not only harassing me and my husband and my family. Stop harassing people who disagree with you. Stop it. Stop with the censorship. Stop with trying to control social media platforms and sending cease and desist to bloggers and independent reporters, and bombarding them and intimidating them with threats of lawsuits. Stop trying to control the narrative. Stop reporting copyright infringement when it's not copyright infringement, because I came out to an NBC6 network channel, and everything that people have reposted on the video, I own the photos. It was done. And, you know, that we took months to make sure everything was done legally. Stop abusing the power and intimidating people just to hide. If you're not doing anything wrong, if you're innocent, why are you going to great lengths to file 2 motions minimum a day for the last 3 weeks, asking the judge to gag me from speaking out and presenting evidence to the public? If you're innocent, why do you care? If you're innocent, why are you going after people who are following me? I mean, they're going to the followers following me and sending, you know, stuff and all that stuff. Why do that? And so what's the point? What's the point of that? And so like I say, the truth doesn't have to be defended. And if you're going to that lengths, something is not right, right? And like you said, when the unveil unfolds, it's hard to come back from that. It's hard to come back for that. And to answer your question about the criminal aspect, I can't control what the government does and what the government sees. So we'll see.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, listen, thank you. I can't wait to have you back on the platform to see the outcome. We will be following the discovery process because I know that's going to be a heavy one. Hopefully, they don't keep it locked from the public. I'm sure they'll find a way to do that so we can't get our hands on that discovery, but we will be watching. And good luck to you. And just try to stay strong through all this. I've been through a lawsuit that was powered by a huge entity, Atlantic, and those lawyers are on endless budgets and they got time and patience. And so it was an 8-year battle, and we concluded with, it went in my favor. I didn't get everything I wanted, but it went totally in my favor, and everything is closed out and done. But I just want to prepare you for what you're up against.
No, I'm fully aware. And I can't thank you enough for giving me the platform, for asking different questions, for playing both sides, right? And for just really being courageous enough and not scared to have me on here
I ain't seeing that.
and spread the word. And I'll be
Yeah.
sure to send you stuff to put on here because the evidence speaks for itself. But thank you so
Great.
much.
No problem, Demoree. And where can people follow you and email you if they want to contact you for support, or what do you want to share?
So my Instagram handle is at blackbird0527. And then I also have a Twitter account, and sorry, I just created it because I was not a public person. So it's at Moree Hadley 27.
Okay.
And if you guys have anything you want to share with me, because I'm bombarded with people sharing things with me, DM me and message me. And if you have any problems, let me know, please.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Demoree. Okay, we're going to drop you down, and I'm going to continue to talk with the viewers here. So thank you.
Thank you again. Have a good evening.
And don't forget, today we are offering on shoptkdeals.com the sea moss drops. This is something that everybody needs to have in their diet. It has 98% of the vitamins and minerals that the body needs daily. We have this in mango. We also have it in pineapple. It has 10,000 milligrams of Irish sea moss, the same sea moss that Dr. Sebi preached about, and the same sea moss that a lot of the health gurus preach about as well. It also has spirulina, which is very potent in vitamins and minerals as well. It has zinc, burdock root, and vitamin C, okay? Use the coupon code TK10 to get your sea moss drops. This is our mushroom Vitamix, okay? The T-cell, NK cell Vitamix, very potent. The reviews on the website say everything. This is used to help optimize T cells, to help optimize natural killer cells, which kill off cancer cells in the body and things like that. It's been used in a ton of therapy. It's been in Chinese medicine for years, and people are raving about this. All you got to do is Google shiitake mushrooms. This is shiitake mushrooms along with turkey tail, some lion's mane, some cordyceps, all blended down. You can either cook with it, you can put it in your smoothies, you can drink it in water. Either way, you need this about twice a week. And if you're not down with the powder, we do have the gummies, all right, which has all of that in there. Shiitake mushrooms. It also has the reishi mushroom, has the chaga, it has the white button. And so all of this is condensed down into the mushroom extract complex. And also we have the mushroom 10X, okay? That's available as well on shoptkdeals.com. Use the coupon code TK10 to get 10% off of your first order. Don't forget, guys, we are featuring the Koji Cocoa Soap. This is something that I use to help even my skin tone, clear dark marks and things like that. This is available on shoptkdeals.com. Use the coupon code TK10, okay? Be careful about using it on your face. Yes, it will lighten the dark marks, but it will lighten your face as well, and you don't want to be out here looking like Nene Leaks, okay? This is the Koji Cocoa Soap. We have the sugar case. I am so in love with the body oils, and you guys are too, because you're emailing me about them. These are body oils infused with like glazed donut fragrances. We also have watermelon squeeze. We have, let me put this up. We have the watermelon squeeze. We also have the Georgia peach body oil, okay? I usually put these on when I get out of the shower, wet, let them soak into the skin while the pores are open. And then, of course, I carry a bottle around to touch up. It doesn't leak. And that's one thing that I like about this Black-owned body oil company is that they don't leak all in your purse. I could travel with these. They don't spill. I don't know where the hell she got these bottles from or the oils, but she's doing her thing. You can access the sugar case on my website. Use the coupon code TK10 to get 10% off your first order. And last but not least, we have our top seller, which are the Active 8 fasting drops. If you are really trying to fast, if you are really trying to suppress your appetite, the right way, the Active 8 fasting drops is the way that you need to go. The reviews on the website speak for themselves. If you're looking for appetite suppression, which means you have to start first thing in the morning, okay? And you put the drops in your body, you put a little water in your body, and you just do a water fast throughout the day. People are emailing me saying, hey, Tasha, they work better than any type of Ozempic or semaglutide that's out there. It just helps to settle the gas in the stomach, and the stomach tells the brain that you're not hungry no more, okay? And so the fasting drops are available on shoptkdeals.com. Use the coupon code TK10 and let me know how much weight you've lost personally using the active drops, okay? And with that being said, listen, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and head on out of here. If you got a story that you want to tell, something as tragic as this, something maybe as motivating, okay? If you have a tip on your favorite celebrity, please email me at unwinewithtashak@gmail.com. And also, guys, if you want to advertise on the platform, please feel free to email me at unwinewithtashak@gmail.com or hit me on Instagram via the DM at unwinewithtashak@gmail.com. And don't forget, guys, my movies on Tubi are streaming right now. The Last Interview, I Ain't Got It, as well as Everyone Talks to Someone. Thank you so much for your support, winos, and I will see you on our next video. Now I gotta go. Bye.